Like most of you, I was once a kid, and like most kids, I was a massive fan of Indiana Jones. I just remember so clearly the first time watching Raiders of the Lost Ark after picking it up from my local Carolina Video, and I just remember it blowing my mind. After seeing that film, I didn't want to be anything other than Indiana Jones. I watched these films countless times as a kid, Raiders especially. Last Crusade I would watch a few times, but Temple of Doom I never really watched that much beyond the first time. I think it was that heart-ripping scene. It just kind of steered me away from that film.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
And I remember going to see Crystal Skull in the theater when I was 11, so these movies were absolutely essential to me growing up. And recently, I've been watching back through all 4 films in order in preparation for the new film coming out in a couple weeks. So in this video, I just want to give my quick thoughts on each film, provide a couple hot takes, and then give my thoughts on the upcoming film, Dial of Destiny. Okay, hot take number 1, every film in the Indiana Jones series is good. But there is only one masterpiece in the bunch, and that's Raiders. Every frame of that movie is iconic, but if you took away the fact that it is tattooed on our cultural zeitgeist, it would still be a masterpiece. It was always my favorite Indiana Jones film as a kid, and rewatching it now as an adult, I just grew to love it even more. Harrison Ford is absolutely phenomenal in this movie, but the real standout to me was Karen Allen. She is so phenomenal in scene stealing in every scene she's in. The dynamic between her and Ford is just utter perfection, and something that is never really captured again in the other films. So after watching Raiders and being blown away by it yet again, I moved on to the second film in this series, Temple of Doom. Now, like I mentioned up top, I remember watching this as a kid, but I honestly probably only saw it one time. I remember watching it after seeing Raiders, and it was such a different experience, and it was honestly such a terrifying experience.
Holy shit!
I never really went back to it. But revisiting it now as an adult, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not my favorite of the series, and it is nowhere near as good as Raiders, but it has something special to it. The fact that it went so unbelievably hard and was really terrifying blows my mind. I just can't fathom the fact that Spielberg was able to make this entire movie without someone telling him he needed to stop. Because this movie is hardcore and is definitely not meant for kids. And that's, I think, what I love about it so much, is that it really swings for the fences and by all accounts hits it. After watching Temple of Doom, I moved on to Last Crusade, and first thing I noticed is that this movie is way goofier than I remember. It borders on slapstick, with the humor feeling a bit like it belongs in the MCU. In rewatching this film, I honestly thought I remembered more of it than I actually did. As a kid, I must have just really rewatched Raiders over and over again, because these movies seem familiar to me, but not ingrained in my mind like Raiders was. So rewatching all these films kind of felt like a new experience, and Last Crusade was no exception. While I remembered bits and pieces of it, the whole story structure felt honestly like a new movie to me. And even though I enjoyed a lot about this movie, it definitely is no masterpiece. Which surprised me, because I always remember people saying that this one was almost as good as Raiders, if not better than Raiders. But for me, at least in this moment in time, that was not the case for me. I really did not love this film. I think, like I said, it's just the humor was a little bit too much for me. And honestly, I don't know what else to say about this film, because on paper, it's a fantastic movie, but it just did not do it for me the way I was expecting. I'm definitely going to give this one a watch again in the future, because it could have just been the day I was checking it out. But as for right now, this movie is definitely not at the top of my Indiana Jones ranking. And right after watching Last Crusade, I moved on to the infamous Crystal Skull. Like I said, I went to go see this in theaters back when it came out, and I don't think I've watched it since then. While not loving it, I remember enjoying it at the time. I also remember having a Mutt Williams and Indiana Jones action figure from this movie that I thought were awesome. But of all the films in the series, this is definitely the one I saw the least, just because it's the newest. So right away when I jumped into this movie, the first thought that came to my mind was parody. The beginning was honestly rough to watch, from Cate Blanchett's character to even Ford, who felt like he was doing an impersonation of Indy rather than playing the character. It just felt weird, even with the cinematography. The picture quality just looked too good, if that makes any sense. It kind of just lost a bit of the grit that the other films had. And lest we forget, the endlessly clowned on surviving a nuke in a fridge bit. All these things combined, it just felt off. But to my surprise, after the first 20 minutes of this movie, it really started to capture some of that Indy essence as the film goes along. While definitely never matching that of Raiders, I really started to enjoy this movie as it went along. And also, hot take number 2 for the day, Shia LaBeouf is totally fine in this movie. I do not get why people are so upset about his character. I enjoyed him in the movie as a kid, and rewatching it now, I think he is totally fine in this. So upon a rewatch, I think if you just cut out the first 20 minutes of this movie, as well as the monkey scene, honestly, this is so much better. Also, I remember as a kid being super weirded out by the ending and thinking it was too far out and just kind of wonky. But as an adult and having recently watched through all the other films, it is right in line with every other movie. In Raiders, the biblical god literally shows up and kills all the Nazis. In Temple of Doom, a satanic cult rips guys' hearts out. In Last Crusade, they find the Holy Grail of Christ and get eternal life. In Crystal Skull, they find aliens. When you look at it in conjunction with all the other films, this is not out of line with the other movies. But I think the ending stands out as weird for 2 reasons. First, the CGI. I mean, just look at that. Oof, not a practical effect in sight. If anything feels weird, it's definitely because of the goofy green screen stuff. Because what happens is no crazier than Raiders, but with that, it was all practical, which felt more immersive. In this, it just takes you out of it with the goofy CGI. Secondly, I think it felt weird at the time because it had been so long since the other movies came out. I think most people, including myself, were thinking that these movies were way more grounded than they actually were, when in reality, they never were that. They always dealt with wacky, wild, mystical things. In every movie, Indy is a non-believer who is confronted with something unexplainable. So all that's to say, if you haven't seen Crystal Skull in a while, I would recommend giving it another shot, and also just kind of watch it with blinders. Just pretend the first 20 minutes doesn't exist. Also the monkey scene, pretend that does not exist. And I would venture to say you'll have a good time with this movie. I know that's a bit weird. I know some people are not going to like that saying. It's like, okay, well, you're just going to ignore parts of the movie and say it's good. You could do that with any movie and then find enjoyment out of it. I know, just let me have this. I'm just making a point that there is only a little bit of this movie that feels weird. The rest of the movie honestly feels like a normal Indiana Jones movie. I'm curious to hear if my theory works, so try it out and let me know what you think. And now we come to Dial of Destiny, a movie with less than glowing reviews coming out of Cannes and totally non-biased YouTubers giving it a totally fair chance. Note the sarcasm there. Look, I don't know if this movie is going to be good, but I'm going in with excitement, no matter what anyone else says. And that, I think, is the reason why I wanted to make this video. Like so many other people, I love these movies. Even the ones that aren't that amazing have something great in them. And I'm not going to let critics or politically biased YouTubers tell me what to think about a movie I haven't seen. Look, this movie may very well be as bad as some people are saying. It could also be a masterpiece. But even if it sits in the middle and it's just another Crystal Skull situation, there will be something to love there. Even if it's just getting to see Harrison Ford play this character one last time, I've already got my tickets for opening night, and if you love this character, I would encourage you to do the same. Get out to the theater, watch it on the big screen, and then decide for yourself. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Just kind of share my brief thoughts on these movies, as well as my excitement for the new movie coming out. I want to know what you guys think. What is your ranking of the Indiana Jones movies? This is my ranking of all the movies, having just watched back through them. And again, don't rake me over the coals. This could totally change if I rewatch Last Crusade again. But as for right now, this is my current ranking of the movies. Letterboxd saw it first if you want to see all my other rankings of Star Wars, MCU, DCU, everything like that. If you want to stay up to date on all the movies that I'm watching, definitely hop over to my Letterboxd and follow me there. I document every single movie that I watch, but I also document it on YouTube as well, so make sure to subscribe here. But most of all, I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what your ranking is. What's your favorite movie in the series? And most of all, are you excited for the new film, and are you gonna go see it? Comment below and let me know. I'm really excited to hear y'all's thoughts. Make sure to subscribe and drop a like on this video, but please, most of all, do your best to enjoy everything. Thanks, y'all.